Today I'm here and I'm sitting with one of the sustainability and climate champions.
Pleasure to be with you.
Kindly introduce yourself, tell us your name, and tell us about your passion that brought this FSD Africa up.
Well, thank you. So my name is Mark Napier. I have a background in investment banking, but for most of my recent career, I've been in development finance, trying to cause financial systems to change for the benefit primarily of poorer people. And recently, the focus has been turning a lot towards sustainable finance, and particularly green finance, especially. And we've been investing a lot in that area over the last few years. So it's been quite a journey from financial inclusion through capital market development and now into green finance. But it's been a very worthwhile journey.
So what do you do?
Well, we spend a lot of time with policymakers and regulators. So the main focus of the program is to create an ecosystem that allows investment to flow. And so we do a lot of work around policy and regulation, building the trust of investors in financial markets. We build capacity within regulators and within financial institutions. And we also use our capital to create transactions and invest in businesses that cause markets to be more competitive and more innovative, and basically more accessible to a much broader group of the population.
You've been here for 9 years, right?
Correct.
How has it been at the helm of FSD Africa?
Well, it's been a long journey, but I think we've had a lot of impact. Over the years, we've brought financial services to more than 5 million individuals, more than 3.5 million small businesses. We've crowded in, we've mobilized more than $1.5 billion of investment through the investing activities that we've done. So I think we can be proud of the impact that we've achieved, but I think more important, I think we've demonstrated that there is a need for a kind of market catalyst in the market. That's what we do, to try and drive change in the market. We feel that there is a useful purpose for the work that we do, and there seems to be no end of opportunity really for the kind of support that we can provide.
You work with so many stakeholders within the industry, governments, private equity funds, project managers. What are some of these one or two projects you have that have impacted positively to the African society?
So our philosophy is very much that whether you're talking about finance for the poor or financial or financial inclusion, the two are linked. So whether you're talking about capital market development or inclusive financial products, they're very closely linked and they're very interdependent. And so that's why we do a very wide range of projects. So on the one hand, we've been, for example, supporting the introduction of mobile banking-based basic banking products for street traders in Nigeria, for example. So that's building the capacity of a local bank there to be able to roll out these kinds of products. And also working in Mathari here, working with youth entrepreneurs, giving them cash transfers to see whether that would encourage them to do their businesses better. But at the other end of the spectrum, we also work with the capital market regulators, building the capacity of the regulators, making it easier for them to do their work, and supporting transactions, particularly increasingly now in the green space.
Do you think the African countries are doing enough to get themselves into that space?
Into the green finance space?
Yes.
So we have been active in building green bond markets for the last 4 or 5 years. And so when we started that, so this was 2017, in Kenya and then in Nigeria, sort of putting in place investment guidelines and other regulations that allow for green bonds to take root. that was quite pioneering. And in truth, I would say that progress has been quite limited. So Nigeria has done a sovereign green bond.
Mm-hmm.
Kenya, we're still waiting for Kenya's sovereign green bond.
Right, it's on the way.
Which we are assured is on its way, and long, we're long awaited, let me tell you. But and there's still only been one corporate green bond in Kenya, so it does take a long time. But I think what we're also seeing now is that there is increasing interest on the part of the regulators to introduce enabling regulation for green finance. There's interest on the part of the stock exchanges also to deliver products that institutions can invest in, institutions and retail investors can invest in, that are green as well. Because there is the beginning of growing interest, I think, in green finance. So I would say Africa is on the move on green finance, but we're at quite an early stage, and I think there's quite a long road that we need to travel.
So is this the place where now the corporate institutions and individual market players come in to fix this deficit?
Well, you need champions in any market, right? You really need champions. And the champions, they don't need to be people like us. They can be champions within the regulators or within the policymakers. They can be financial institutions as well. There are some very progressive financial institutions that really believe that this is the future and that they need to invest in understanding how to develop green products that really appeal to a much broader group of, particularly the younger population, that are very interested in green products because it's their future, right? And so I think a lot of educated younger people realize that this continent is the most vulnerable continent to climate change, and they would like to support, in whatever small way that they can, they would like to support the way the economy functions in order that the place that they grow up in is going to be safe and clean and secure. And so that's why I think it's good for insurance companies to begin that process of trying to understand where this emerging market is coming from and what they would really like to invest in.
You just said 2 or 3 African countries are trying a little bit to move with the narrative of green finance. Why is it that there is no resources or the capacities, or is it the need to just not want to conform?
No, the ones who get it, the countries who get it, are the ones who are realizing that their development trajectory needs to be funded, and they need to explore different opportunities for getting money in to be able to fund their development. And that's really the critical thing. So no country would go for the green agenda if it didn't also deliver on their development needs, right? And so what we've been saying is that you need to mainstream green into your development. And when you do that, you can then start to appeal to a much broader group of international investors who want actively to invest in green products. And so you as a country can issue a green bond, get that funded by very large financial institutions, and you can then find ways to fund your continuing development. So what we're talking about is a development story powered by climate. It's not primarily a climate story, and that's a really critical point to note. And I just simply think it's a process of building awareness on the part of those other African countries that haven't quite worked that out yet, but they will get there. And so that's part of what we're in business to do.
So you're very optimistic about it?
I am very optimistic because I think there's a real opportunity. You know, it's not I think oftentimes we think about the need to fund projects to protect ourselves against climate change, and there's a huge investment requirement. We're not seeing the investment opportunity, and that's we need to invert the discussion a little bit. Let me tell you a story. We have recently published some research looking at the economic value of investing in green, sustainable green urban development. Okay. And the numbers are staggering in terms of the incremental investment that you need to put in and the net present value of that return that you then get back. And so in Kenya, for the four cities that we looked at, Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, and Kisumu, the incremental investment that would be required by 2050 to send those cities on a green development pathway is $27 billion. That's a big number, but you get back from that 54 billion in value. So why, economically, would you not take that route?
Why would individual governments, let's say even the county governments, not appreciate the value?
Many reasons why, and one of them is that particularly counties or cities, they don't have the powers to be able to do certain things, to make certain decisions. And so there is a discussion about, are there ways for national governments to delegate some of those decision-making and finance-raising powers to the local level, because that might make things more efficient. But I think a lot of the problem is to do with coordination. Organizing a different way for a city to develop requires all sorts of vested interests to be confronted, rules to be passed, creative financing structures to be raised. And that just requires a lot of effort. And I think sometimes national governments don't have the capacity or they don't have the political will, unfortunately.
So what do you do in your free time? How many hours do you clock, by the way?
You talk to my colleagues. They get emails at very strange hours. No, I love my work, and I love the program that I run, and I think we're doing an important job, and it's incredibly interesting, and so it's a real privilege to do what I do. When I'm not doing that, I enjoy the natural environment. I'm not just saying that because this is an interview about green finance, but I do, and I think Kenya's got extraordinary riches. And I enjoy that.
And how do you unwind?
I run.
You're a marathoner.
I'm not a marathon runner. I do half marathons. I don't do full marathons, but I run a bit. And I enjoy socializing with friends.
So a decade at the helm of FSD Africa, what do you want to achieve further than what you've achieved so far?
Listen, we seem to have no end of opportunity at FSD Africa. We've been through some interesting times, re-strategizing, and I think we're doing things that are relevant for the continent and are very important for our funders, which is the UK government. And so we feel that there's going to be plenty of opportunity to grow this program and achieve a lot more impact. And I think we can do that for several years more to come.
Great. So a little history about how FSD Africa was formed as we finish.
Well, I think the UK government has always been a big promoter of the idea of financial sector development. And I think the UK has a big finance sector, as we all know. And so I think, and they have CDC, which is the Development Finance Institution in the UK, which is an investment vehicle. But I think they also understood the need to build regulation and to build capacity within financial markets so that any organization can invest and create prosperity. And so they've been big backers of the idea of financial sector development over the last 20 years, really. And so with FSD Africa, they really felt that the opportunity had come for a large umbrella program across Africa that was able to build capacity in many countries all at the same time and really achieve scale in impact around financial sector development. So they decided to do that, and that's really the history of where FSD Africa has come from.
Thank you, Mark, for that amazing interview.